अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्वेषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Krishna, welcome back with a new Śrimad Bhagavad Gītā. So today we are going to start chapter 16. Daivāsura Sambhada Vibhaga Yogaha. So this chapter has 24 verses and it can be divided into 3 sections. The first section from verse number 1 to verse number 6. And then from verse number 7 to verse number 20, and then 21 to 24. So the first chapter first section tells about the 26 divine qualities and 6 demoniac qualities. And the next section, that is 7 to 20, this section is giving the detail about the demoniac qualities. The detail about the demoniac nature, the people with demoniac nature. So their nature, their character, everything is described. And in the last section, that is 21 to 24, this section tells us about how to save oneself from the downfall. That is, how to get rid of this asuric qualities, that is the demoniac. And finally, to reach the supreme destination. So in the previous chapter, that is in chapter 15, we learned about many things. It was a very important chapter. And as in this beautiful chapter, which we told repeatedly that it is the essence of this whole scripture. And we know that in the first first few verses, especially third and fourth verses, also the second verse, with the description of the Ashwatha tree, that is the reflection of the real tree situated in the spiritual world, and the reflection is in the material world. This is explained. And there we learned how the upper branches and the lower branches of that Ashwatha tree is with the divine characters and the demoniac characters respectively. We just had a little glimpse of it. That is, adhashchodhvam prasritastasya shakha guna pravriddha vishaya pravalaha adhashamulanyan santadani karmanubandhini manushya. How this tree binds us with the karma, with the flow of karma. And we are bound in this material world. And then we were, Bhagavan actually told us how to find the root of this tree and then cut the root with the weapon of detachment. So now, in this connection, these two types of branches, that is the upper and the lower, which represents the divine and the demoniac nature of the people of this material world. So this divine, these upper branches is with the divine characteristics, and the lower branches with the demoniac characteristics, that is going to be elaborated in this next chapter, 16th chapter that we are going to start today. And in the first 3 verses, Bhagavan enumerates 26 divine characters, divine qualities. So the name of this chapter is the divine and demoniac natures, Daiva Sura Sampada Vibhaga Yogaha. Traditionally, it is called. Okay. So, Text 1 to 3, we will read together. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Dhanam Damascha Yajñascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Tyagah Shantirapayishunam Daya Bhuteshvaloluptvam Mardavam Hira Chapalam Tejakshama Shaucham Atroho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. So beautiful it is. Now we will read the meaning of the words. Shri Bhagavanuvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Abhayam, fearlessness, Sattva Samshuddhihi, purification of one's existence, Jnana, in knowledge, Yoga, of linking up, Vyavasthitihi, the situation, Dhanam, charity, Damaha, controlling the mind, Cha, and Yajñaha, performance of sacrifice, Cha, and Swadhyayaha, study of Vedic literature, Tapaha, austerity, Arjavam, simplicity, Ahimsa, non-violence, Satyam, truthfulness, Akrodhaha, freedom from anger, Tyagaha, renunciation, Shantihi, tranquility, Apaishunam, aversion to fault-finding, Daya, mercy, Bhuteshu, towards all living entities, Aloluptvam, freedom from greed, Mardavam, gentleness, Hrihi, modesty, Achapalam, determination, Tejaha, vigor, Kshama, forgiveness, Dhritihi, fortitude, Shaucham, cleanliness, Adrohaha, freedom from envy, Na, not, Atimanita, expectation of honor, Bhavanti, are, Sampadam, the qualities, Daivim, the transcendental nature, Abhijatasya, of one who is born of, Bharata, son of Bharata. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So, as we just said, this is one connection that is from verse number 2 of 15th chapter, where Bhagavan says about the Ashwatha tree and the upper and lower branches as representing as divine and demoniac characters. Now he is going to elaborately discuss these two qualities, these two type of people also we can say. And in the end of last chapter, that is 15th chapter, Bhagavan concludes by saying that iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya nagha etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityasya bharata. So whoever understands this knowledge will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So they will be perfected. They will become wise and perfected. Which means who are going to be kritakritya, their life will be fulfilled. It means they are going to understand everything. They will become wise. They will reach the perfection stage. But what about the other set of people who will not know? As Bhagavan said in 7th chapter also, Moodha ayam nabhijanati, 7.25. In 9th chapter also, 9.11, Bhagavan said, Avajananti ma moodhaha. And again in 9.12, he says, Rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. So these people who don't have the required faith in the knowledge that Bhagavan is going to present, what will be their condition? And what qualities they possess? All these things he is going to reveal now. So we see, according to this, we get two kinds of jiva, we can say. One is Mahatma and the other is Mudhatma. So, who are possessing the divine characters, they are the Mahatmas. They will be kritakritya. Their life will be fulfilled. They will reach the perfectional stage. And the other set of people, they are the Mudhat. So they are having the asuri qualities. Rakshasim asurim chaiva. So they are completely dominated by Rajas and Tamas. Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And Bhagavan said in 9th chapter only, 9.13, that Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. So who are the Mahatmas? They possess all the divine qualities. And he concluded in the last chapter that they will reach the perfection stage. So in the earlier chapters, Bhagavan told about them very little. But here he is going to elaborately describe. And that is why, according to the topic which is discussed, the name of the chapter is given Daivasura Sambandhaga Yoga. So, Bhagavan says here, now we will just have a little explanation of all the qualities first. It is a very big purport. If I read the whole, it will take much time. So, Abhayam means fearlessness. So the people who are surrendered, who have the knowledge, as Bhagavan said in the previous chapter, Etad Buddha Buddhiman Syat Kritakritya Shabha. They do possess these kind of qualities. Why? See, in the second chapter, Arjuna asked about Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitatim kim prabhasheda kima asita vrajeta kim. So he asked about the Sthita Prajna. So Bhagavan discussed about the qualities of a Sthita Prajna. Then in 12th chapter, he talks about the qualities of a Bhakta. Then in 13th chapter, he talked about the qualities of a Jnani. And in 14th chapter, he talks about the qualities of Gnatita. And in this chapter, he is going to reveal, he is going to enumerate the Devī Sampad, that is the divine qualities. So actually, this is the 5th time he is going to describe about such kind of a person. Because see, Sthita Prajna, Bhakta, Jnani, Gnatita, Daiva, Daivi, that is Daivi Sampadam Abhijatam. So these 5 are actually indicating the same person, the same type of a person. It is a certain kind of character. So who is Sthita Prajna? He is actually a Bhakta. He is actually a perfect Jnani. He is actually Gunatita. And he is actually a person with divine characters. So, if we study carefully again, then we will understand that there are so many common points and the essence same. Sorry. So now as here Bhagavan is saying, Abhayam, that is fearlessness. See, who is a bhakta or a person who is in perfect knowledge? He cannot have fear in his heart because he is already surrendered and he knows the real nature of his self. So there is no question of fear. Then sattva samshuddhihi, that is purification of one's existence. That is coming to the deeper meaning of one's existence, or the deeper state of one's existence. Sattva samshuddhi. Jnana yoga vyavasthitihi. I will read here little portion, particularly these two. Okay. The social institution known as Varnashrama Dharma the institution dividing society into 4 divisions of social life and 4 occupational divisions or castes, is not made to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberation from the material world. In the Varnashrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of this institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect of Paramatma, is always within, and he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. So actually complete fearlessness, that is abhayam, is not possible by the ordinary people. So it is the stage of the sannyasis. Then he has to purify his existence. The next one, that is sattva samshuddhihi. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is a stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connections with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possession of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyasa order of life in connections with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chota Haridasa, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates, but somehow or other, this Chota Haridasa looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him, looking toward material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes of purification. So we see here not only about the sannyasis, anybody who is a spiritual aspirant, he also must be very conscious about associating with people of the opposite gender. It is not about, it is, Chota Haridasa was a man, that is why it is about the, he had to keep certain distance from the women. But if one is a woman, then also the same rules and regulations are obviously to be followed by her, by the ladies. And that is Sattva Samshuddhihi. It is said here. So we see the next item is Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi. Being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge, sannyasi life is made for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood. But this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person, but out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi, or one in the renounced order of life, must be situated in fearlessness, sattva samshuddhi, that is purity, and jnana yoga, that is knowledge. So this portion I wanted to read from this purport given by Śrīmad Bhagavad Gītā, because sannyasis, as we know, that is the highest stage, but it is applicable for all the spiritual aspirants to acquire these qualities. Because we already had the conclusion in the last chapter, that is, and in the previous chapters, as we just said, that is a bhakta, whether a bhakta or a jnani or a sthita prajna or gunatita or Devī sampad abhijata, whatever it is, these are the required qualifications for spiritual progress. So it must be there for all the spiritual aspirants. And these are the Devī guna. Actually, see, in Vishnu Purana also it is said that Vishnu bhaktaha smrito daiva asurastat viparyayaha. So a person with devotion is Daiva, and Asura the opposite, that is without devotion. So Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva Asurasta Viparaya. That means, as we just said, and I'm saying it repeatedly to keep it permanently in our mind, that is, there is no difference between Sthita Prajna or Bhakta or Jnani or Gunatita. This, what we are studying, same, indicating the same person. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. That means perfect, situated perfectly in knowledge. And Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, it was in the 13th chapter about the qualities of a Jnani. Same, means the same. So, we see that as it is just mentioned, the sannyasis, they are not beggar. They are going door to door, not to just earn some alms, no, but to give supreme consciousness, divine consciousness, Krishna consciousness to the people they are meeting, to all the grihasthas. So we see that Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti actually, this is simultaneously being situated in Jnana and performing activities, transcendental activities. That is also the nature of a bhakta. So bhakti means actually seva. So it's the same thing. Jnana, ajnani also becomes transcendental to material activities. So the same, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti or Adhyatma Jnana Nityatva, same. So you see the perfect combination of Jnana and Karma, Nishkama Karma, and perfect knowledge. That is bhakti. That is actually bhakti. And Gita repeatedly pointing out to that stage. And how in this scripture also we see how Bhagavan is lifting Arjuna to the platform of Jnana. And then from that stage, he is asking him to do karma that is suitable for him, through which he can please the Lord. So, a person with perfect devotion must have Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, which is a Devī Sampatha. Okay. Next is Dhanam, charity, we know, everybody. Tamaha, that is controlling the mind. As we know that how difficult it is to control our mind. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabhadraham. All these things we already learned. So controlling the mind is very important. Then yajna, that is performance of sacrifice. Then swadhyaya, that is studying Vedic scriptures. Tapaha, austerity. Arjavam, simplicity. Ahimsa, non-violence. Satyam, truthfulness, akrodhaha, freedom from anger, tyagaha, renunciation, that is, we already talked about when we were talking about the sannyasis, they are at the perfect stage of renunciation. Shantihi, tranquility. See, as we know that Krishna bhakta nishkamaha toeva shanto. So as the bhaktas or the jnanis or the siddha or the gunatita, whatever we may call him, he is a person who have no desire in his heart. So he is automatically very peaceful completely. So Shanta. And here, Apaishunam, it is a little different word that is introduced in this chapter only. Apaishunam. And another is there, that is Alolupvam. These two particular qualities are added here. So Apaishunam means aversion to fault finding. That means a person who is in this perfected stage, he never sees faults in others. And he has no greed for any material things. Aloluptvam. In between daya, sarvabhuteshu, that is also there. Daya. Daya we know, mercy. But these two, as it is said, anintuk huya shada lobe Krishna. If we have a tendency to find faults in others, then it is not possible to utter Krishna now. So aninduka, that is this apaishuna. Or the same. It is like it is a very important quality of bhakta. But see, aloluptvam, freedom from greed. Does this mean that a bhakta has no greed in his heart? He also has a kind of greed in his heart. That is very special. Lobha shadu shango harikatha. So he has a strong greed to hear about Krishna, to associate with Krishna bhaktas. That is also the greed that he has. So, aloluptvam. Then mardavam is gentleness. Hrihi, modesty. Achapalam, determination. Tejaha, vigor. Shama, forgiveness. Dhritihi, fortitude. Shaucham, cleanliness. Adrohaha, freedom from envy. This is also very important. Freedom from envy. Na atimanita. No expectation of honor. So, and what Bhagavan is saying in the end, bhavanti sampadam daivim abhijatasya bhava. It is very important. Why? As Bhagavan just mentioned about the 26 qualities, divine qualities. Is it very easy to acquire for anybody. No. Bhagavan says, Abhijatasya. Abhijatasya, that is, it is dependent on your past life's karma. So, if you did something good in your past lives, you will take birth in a family where your parents are with all the sattvic qualities. With all sattvic qualities. So, is it disappointing that it is dependent on the past lives activities? So how can I get it now? So for the grihasthas, especially, it is a very positive thing that if the grihasthas who are in the grihastha ashrama, they are trying to reach that state, the parents who are going to be the future parents, then the child that will born to them, will possess all the sattva-gunas. So they have to prepare themselves in advance. So the jiva, with all the good past activities, will born to the parents who are also of sattvic nature. So it is a very positive thing that Bhagavan says here, that don't get upset. Arjuna, you were born with this, with these qualities. And then Bhagavan reveals the nature of the asuric people, that is, the demoniac qualities. I could not read the whole of the purport of these 3 verses. It will take much time. But the meanings we have learned. The qualities we have learned. Now Bhagavan says, Dambhodarbhobhimanascha krodhah parushyamev cha ajnanam chabhijatasya partha sampadamasurim. Synonyms. Dambhaha, pride. Darpaha, arrogance. Abhimanaha, conceit. Cha and krodhaha, anger. Parushyam, harshness. Eva, certainly. Cha and ajnanam, ignorance. Cha and abhijatasya, of one who is born of. Partha, O son of Pritha. Sampadam, the qualities. Asurim, of the demoniac nature. Translation. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature. O son of Pritha. So Bhagavan giving only 6 qualities. See, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature. 26 qualities he told about the divine people, and about the demoniac people only 6. So, see, dambha, that is pride. Abhimana, that is conceit. So, these two are born of, Abhimana and Krodha. These two are born of Rajoguna. Rajoguna. And Ajnanam, that is Tamoguna. Now, Dambha, that is pride, is the manifestation of Abhimana, that is conceit. And Darpaha is the expression of Krodha, anger. And Parushyam, that is harshness, it is the expression of Ajnana, ignorance. See, here Bhagavan is just giving the list. In the first 3 verses, Bhagavan gave the list of the divine characters. Now here, in verse number 4, he gives the list of the demonic characters. And the elaboration will start from verse number 7. There we will come to know the exact nature. Here only this much. Okay. And then in the next 2 verses, Bhagavan says a very interesting thing. Let us read it first. Devī sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya surimata ma shuchas sampadam daivim abhijatosi pādava. Synonyms. Devī, transcendental. Sampad, assets. Vimokshaya, made for liberation. Nibandhaya, for bondage. Asuri, demoniac qualities. Mata are considered. Ma, do not. Shuchaha, worry. Sampadam, assets. Daivim, transcendental. Abhijataha, born of. Asi, you are. Pandava, O son of Pandu. Translation. The transcendental qualities are conductive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. So Bhagavan is encouraging Arjuna by saying that, Arjuna, don't worry, don't get upset after knowing all these qualities, because you are born with all the divine qualities that I have already described in the first 3 verses of this chapter. So now, what I have told about the demoniac characters, you don't possess them, so do not worry. So, see, See, Devī Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Surimata. So that the divine characters are the cause of liberation, whereas the demoniac characters are the cause of bondage to this material world. So we see in the Shastras, everything is rotating around these two topics, moksha and bandhana. Moksha and bandhana. Moksha and bandhana. So, moksha, that is liberation, requires these qualities. And bandhana is very easy to get. And only 6 qualities are enough to be bound in this material world. But to get liberation, 26 qualities are required. Okay. So, why we are bound with this material? That means definitely we have certain demoniac character within us to some degree, to certain degree. The next verse also we will read. Dvau bhuta sargo lokesmin Daiva asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah prukta Asuram partha me shrunu. Synonyms. Dvau, two. Bhuta sargau, created living beings. Loke, in the world. Asmin, this. Daivaha, godly. Asuraha, demoniac. Eva, certainly. Cha, and. Daivaha, the divine. Vistarashaha, at great length. Proktaha, said. Asuram, the demoniac. Partha, O son of Pritha. Me, from me. Shrunu, just here. Translation. O son of Pritha, in this world, there are 2 kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. So as we just mentioned in the beginning also, that Bhagavan has already told about the demoniac characters in different ways, in different contexts, throughout the scripture, as talking about Sthita Prajna, or Bhaktas, or Jnanis, or Gunatita. So and now specifically in as the divine qualities. So he already told 5 times about the divine qualities in different ways. Now, Bhagavan says, that is why he is saying this, Daivo Vistarashaha Prokta. So I told you elaborately. I told you elaborately. I explained to you at length. Many times. They were long discussions. Now, listen carefully about the demoniac qualities. Why listening to these demoniac qualities is also essential, because already in the previous chapter, Bhagavan assured Arjuna, pacified him, encouraged him by saying that you are born with all the divine qualities. So what is the need to know about the demoniac characters? It is for us. It is for us because we have certain demoniac qualities in our heart. So that we can get rid of this and we can resist ourselves from further fall down, and we can uplift ourselves to a certain degree. This is the reason Bhagavan is disclosing this. Daivo vistarashaha prokta suram parthame shruno. Now listen about the demoniac qualities. So from our next class, in our next class, from verse number 7, we'll discuss about the asuric qualities, that is the demoniac nature. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for joining.